Defense attorneys across the United States agree. When an officer asks, "Do you have any weapons?" the worst response is, "Yes, I have a gun." For concealed carriers who believe honesty is the best policy, that exact response has led to thousands of wrongful searches, illegal seizures, and charges against law-abiding gun owners. Constitutional lawyers explain that saying, "Yes, I have a gun," gives officers justification to extend stops, order you out of the vehicle, conduct Terry frisks, search your car, and sometimes even arrest you for lawful possession, depending on their interpretation. That simple phrase can turn a routine stop into a weapons investigation, placing the burden on you to prove you are not a threat. Understanding how to respond when an officer asks about weapons can mean the difference between driving away in 2 minutes or spending the next hour handcuffed while police search your vehicle, possibly arresting you despite a valid permit. In Ohio, a licensed concealed carrier was pulled over for expired registration. When asked about weapons, the driver said, "Yes, officer, I have a Glock 19 in the center console and I have a concealed carry permit." The officer immediately ordered the driver out, conducted a pat-down, retrieved the firearm, ran the serial number, and verified the permit with backup. The stop lasted 45 minutes. The driver received a warning and was released, but the firearm handling caused unnecessary stress, extended documentation, and created police records showing the driver as armed, which could affect future stops. All because 5 words gave more information than legally required. Saying, "Yes, I have a gun," creates legal problems. Police training treats any mention of a firearm as a safety situation that justifies heightened response. The phrase triggers officers to order you out of the vehicle, pat you down under Terry rules if there is reasonable suspicion, secure the firearm, call for backup, and extend the stop to verify legality. Voluntary information can be used against you. Specifying the gun's location gives officers a roadmap for a search without separate probable cause, establishing reasonable suspicion. They might consider you a prohibited person, suspect the firearm is stolen, or believe you pose a danger. A simple taillight stop can escalate into a 30 to 60-minute weapons investigation. Tone, body language, or nervous gestures can be misinterpreted, escalating the encounter. Once documented in a report, the firearm appears in police databases, and future stops can be affected because officers know the driver has previously been armed. In duty to inform states, it is critical to know what to say if asked about weapons. The approach varies depending on the state. Following these guidelines can prevent unnecessary escalation during traffic stops. The law requires notifying an officer if you are carrying during a traffic stop. The correct response is, "Officer, I am notifying you that I am legally armed and I have a valid concealed carry permit. My firearm is secured. How would you like me to proceed?" This satisfies the legal duty, establishes that you are a legal carrier with a permit, indicates you are not a threat, and gives the officer control. It does not volunteer unnecessary details about location, type, or ammunition. Do not say where the gun is unless asked. Do not mention type or caliber. Do not say if it is loaded. Do not explain why you are carrying. Do not apologize or act nervous. Do not reach for your permit until the officer instructs. Every extra detail gives more for the officer to investigate. If the officer asks follow-ups like, "Where's the firearm? What type? Is it loaded? Can I see your permit?" Respond with location for officer safety only. For everything else, say, "Officer, I have notified you I'm legally armed as required. Beyond that, I'm exercising my right not to answer additional questions. My permit is in my wallet. How would you like me to retrieve it?" The key phrase, "How would you like me to proceed?" gives the officer control and reduces perceived threat while demonstrating cooperation without volunteering information. In non-duty to inform states, there is no legal requirement to notify the officer of a firearm. The Fifth Amendment protects your right to remain silent unless the officer has independent probable cause. If asked, "Do you have weapons?" 3 responses are legally valid. "I do not answer questions without my attorney," "I'm exercising my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent," or "I'm not required to answer that in this state." None of these can be used as a basis for a search. Even in non-duty states, saying, "Yes, I have a gun," gives officers justification to extend the stop and investigate. The Fifth Amendment protects against self-incrimination. Admitting possession triggers investigation into whether you are a prohibited person or transporting the firearm legally. If the officer pushes back with, "I'm asking a direct question. If you don't cooperate, this takes longer. Are you hiding something?" Respond politely, "I understand, officer. I'm respectfully declining to answer questions beyond license, registration, and insurance. Am I free to go or detained?" This is not obstruction. Politely declining is not resisting or suspicious and cannot justify arrest, search, or stop extension. Traffic stops should proceed with initial contact by rolling down the window, engine off, hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2, and interior light on if nighttime. Do not reach until the officer instructs. Provide license, registration, and insurance narrating movements slowly. After handing documents and duty to inform states, say, "Officer, before we continue, I'm notifying you I'm legally armed with a valid permit. Firearm is secured. How would you like me to proceed?" Stop talking, hands on the wheel, and wait for instructions. In non-duty to inform states, if asked about weapons, respond with, "I do not answer questions," or "I'm exercising my right to remain silent." If the officer seems suspicious, say, "I understand. I am exercising constitutional rights. Am I free to go?" If an officer says, "I would like to search your vehicle," respond clearly, "I do not consent to searches. If you have probable cause, you will do what you need, but I clearly state I do not consent." Never physically resist, and never voluntarily consent. If ordered out of the vehicle, step out immediately and comply. State, "I'm complying with your order. I do not consent to searches." If the officer conducts a pat-down and finds a firearm, clarify, "That is my lawfully owned firearm. I have a valid permit," then remain silent. If searched or arrested anyway, do not resist. Clearly say, "I do not consent to this search." Document the officer's badge number, patrol car, time, location, and what was said justifying the search. After release, write a detailed account and consult an attorney about possible Fourth Amendment violations. If your firearm is seized without an arrest, ask, "Am I being arrested? What crime am I suspected of? What is the legal basis for seizing my property?" If the seizure is for officer safety, obtain a property receipt. If the firearm is held pending investigation, demand a written receipt stating the reason. Contact an attorney immediately. If arrested, immediately state, "I'm invoking my right to remain silent and I want an attorney," and say nothing further. Do not speak to the arresting officer, at booking or in a cell. Everything is recorded and can be used against you. After release, document a detailed account including time, reason for stop, exact questions, your exact words, officer actions, badge numbers, patrol car details, and any witnesses. Take photos of the stop location. Consulting an attorney specializing in Fourth and Second Amendment cases is critical. Illegal searches and seizures can be challenged, firearms recovered, and civil rights violations addressed. Defense attorneys agree. Never say, "Yes, I have a gun," to police. That phrase creates legal problems, providing justification for extended stops, vehicle searches, and firearm seizure. Voluntary information is used to justify investigation and sets precedent for future stops, showing the subject previously armed. In duty to inform states like Ohio, California, Kansas, Maine, and Connecticut, say, "Officer, I'm notifying you that I am legally armed with a valid concealed carry permit. My firearm is secured. How would you like me to proceed?" This satisfies the legal duty without volunteering unnecessary details. In non-duty to inform states, respond, "I do not answer questions," or "I'm exercising my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent." These responses cannot be used as a basis for a search or adverse action. Politely declining to answer is not obstruction. During a traffic stop, keep hands on the steering wheel with interior light on. Do not reach until the officer approves. Narrate movements clearly. In duty to inform states, notify the officer immediately after handing over documents. In non-duty to inform states, invoke the Fifth Amendment if asked about weapons. If ordered from the vehicle, comply but clearly state you do not consent to searches. If searched or arrested anyway, do not physically resist, state clearly you do not consent, document badge numbers and patrol car details. If arrested, invoke your right to silence and request an attorney immediately. Consult an attorney after release, even if not charged. Use lawyer-recommended scripts that protect your rights while keeping you safe. Please leave your thoughts about this content in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.